You go back and forth like a yo-yo, up and down, you got me.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kailin and I post videos every single Saturday. I post videos mainly about eating disorder recovery and intuitive eating. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below, just letting me know where you're from. Is this hair gonna bug you guys as much as it's bugging me? Probably. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the second principle of intuitive eating, which is honoring your hunger. I made a video a couple of weeks ago on the first principle of intuitive eating, which is ditching the diet mentality. And if you want to see that video, I will leave it in the description down below, and I will also put a little card here. I recommend watching this series in order, but if you want to watch them individually, that's completely okay as well. You do you. But like I said, today we are going to be talking about that second principle, which is honoring your hunger. So let's just start off quickly by discussing what hunger is. Hunger is not a shameful thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a natural biological cue. It's a way that your body communicates with you to let you know that you're hungry. Some other examples of natural biological cues are thirst. You know, your throat gets dry. You can tell when you're thirsty. Being tired, being sleepy, the need to pee. These are all ways of your body telling you that you need something, so that you need to go pee, that you need water, that you need food, that you need sleep, because it's important for how your body functions. And for the longest time on social media, I always heard people say, oh, you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your body. You know, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. It's easy. And here I was sitting at home going, how? How do I do this? I was so stuck in the diet mentality that I had completely unlearned my natural biological hunger cues. I had no idea when I was hungry. I had no idea when I was full. And it's because I honestly jumped from fad diet to fad diet. I starved myself and binged. And I just had this never-ending cycle of self-hatred and dieting. And it really is a vicious cycle. Once you start dieting, it is so freaking hard to stop. And I think one of the main reasons is because there are so many diets out there. So you think, oh, well, this diet didn't work for me, so this one probably will. And that's just not how it works. And like I said, if you want to hear more about dieting and the dangers of dieting, please watch the last video in this series. Like I said, it will be linked down below. But like I said, today we are going to be talking about honoring your hunger, which is that second principle of intuitive eating. And it's about honoring your hunger no matter the time, no matter the circumstance. During this process and during this step in intuitive eating, you are going to give yourself unconditional permission to eat anything at any time, no matter what. And holy mother of Jesus, I know how scary this sounds. You're probably thinking that, oh, unconditional permission to eat, I'm only going to eat pizza and Oreos and all of these things that I classify as pleasure foods. I try not to have negative connotations when it comes to foods, but that's probably what you're thinking, is that these are the foods you're going to gravitate to. And at the beginning, this is probably true. And the main reason that this happens is because you have restricted these foods for so long. You have told yourself that you can't have them, that they're quote unquote bad. And that is why you're going to be drawn to them, because either you haven't had them in a really long time, you feel this sense of guilt around them, like they're forbidden, and your brain is going to want to fight against that and consume these foods that you've told it that it can't have for so long. So at the beginning, when you start incorporating foods that are a little bit outside of your comfort zone, of course you're going to be eating these processed foods, these packaged foods, these sugary foods. And let me just stress that there is nothing wrong with them. They are still food, but it will not be like this for your whole journey. I just want to stress that at the beginning of this video, that it's very normal, like I said, to gravitate towards those foods and to consume those foods more than you normally would on an average basis. But it's not forever. There's a misconception around hunger that, you know, if you're truly hungry, you'll feel your stomach kind of clench and growl and ask for food. And for some people, their stomach gurgling and growling and making those sounds is how they experience their cue for hunger. They understand that, oh, you know, like my stomach is starting to feel, you know, and a little bit wonky and make these sounds, I better go eat. But what a lot of people don't understand is not everybody's hunger cues are the same. My body is different from your body. We can eat the exact same foods, we can do the exact same workouts, and you and I would still not have the same body because we're different people. But you and I also have very different hunger cues. So let's just look at the human body. I'll give myself as an example. I mainly feel my own hunger cues in my head. You might be wondering, like, what do you mean in your head? Tell me more, and I will. I get super forgetful. I get very dizzy, confused. I can't retain information properly. If I'm hungry and I'm trying to work, chances are I'm really not going to be productive. I get really, really bad headaches, and I also begin to think about food constantly when I'm hungry. So most of my hunger cues are in my head and also in my stomach. So I get that uneasy feeling, that feeling like my stomach is going to eat itself. I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that. It kind of feels like your stomach is inverting. It's like a gnawing feeling. But like I said, not everybody feels it in their stomach. I feel it mainly in my head. Some people have a dull ache in their throat, which is totally normal. For some people, they don't actually feel anything physically, but it's their mood that changes. So they could be more irritable, quote unquote hangry, those people who just get so cranky when they're hungry. That is a way of your body telling you that you are hungry. That is your own physical hunger cue. You'll have these mood swings. For other people, it's their energy, so getting super tired in the afternoon, just feeling a really big dip in your energy in general, or being completely unmotivated and truly not knowing why. And it's basically this feeling of overall lethargy. You're just very, very tired. So like I said, hunger isn't just in your stomach. You can feel it in so many different ways. So what I want you to do is the next time you're feeling any of these symptoms is to kind of make a mental note of them. Make a mental note of what your own personal hunger cues are, because like I said, they are going to be vastly different from mine, vastly different from, you know, your sister, brother, neighbor, whatever it may be. So try to really be in tune with your body and understand, oh, you know, like I'm being snappy at this person right now. I'm normally not like that. When's the last time I ate? Did I eat enough at that meal? Was my meal balanced? Etc., etc. Those are questions to ask. And being in touch with your body and being in touch with knowing what those biological cues are is so important to honoring your hunger, and also just to be more in touch with your body as well. So now I want to discuss the hunger scale quickly with you. The hunger scale goes from 0 to 10. 0 to 3 being absolutely starving, dizzy, you're going to pass out. It's very, very uncomfortable at this stage. You don't really want to get to this over hungry part of the scale, but it happens sometimes, and that's okay. Then you have the range that is a 3 to a 7. And this is kind of a normal range for hunger. You want to try your best to stay between 3 and 7. 3 being you're hungry and you're ready for a meal, and 7 being you're satisfied, nice and full, but not overly so. And then you have the higher end of the scale, which is an 8 to 10, which is eating past satiation, overeating, feeling very stuffed and uncomfortable. So like I said, we want to try to avoid, you know, that 8 to 10, that 0 to 2 range, but it happens. We fall there sometimes, and that's okay. As long as most of the time you're trying to fall between that 3 to 7, not going too long without eating, and trying to be in tune with your body while eating to not overeat. So what I like to do sometimes, it becomes a lot more natural as you continue on in your intuitive eating journey, but at least at the beginning, I kind of ask myself, like, where am I on the hunger scale before a meal? And that kind of helps me navigate you know, how big my meal should be. Am I in the mood for a snack? And it also makes me take into perspective, like maybe I need a bigger breakfast because, you know, come 11 o'clock, I'm at a 2, it's not doing anything for me. So I have to add another snack so I'm not getting to that number. because honestly, you want to ask yourself how you feel at certain scales. So if I ever get to a 1 or a 2, so that's very hungry, very hangry, I ask myself how this makes me feel. And usually it makes me feel like crap. I've got a headache, I can't think straight, I'm super moody, so I don't like getting there. So then, because I don't like getting there, I understand that if I don't have a morning snack, for example, I'm going to get there. So I take a preventative measure and have that morning snack so I don't get to that too. I hope this makes sense. I'm throwing a bunch of numbers at you guys. So after a really long time of dieting, so at the beginning of your intuitive eating journey, whether you're recovering from numerous eating disorders or whether you're coming just from diet culture in general, you're not really gonna know where you fall on the scale because your hunger cues are gonna be totally out of whack. Your body's gonna be like, what? I can have food whenever. It's gonna be all confused. It's not gonna know when it's hungry. It's not gonna really know when it's full. So you'll overeat, you won't eat enough, and you're kind of gonna limbo a lot between the scale. And that is completely normal. You have to trust the process. You have to keep going. You have to become more in tune with your body and learn what those hunger cues are. And also understand that it's going to get 10 times easier as you continue on. Some people get the hang of it after 2 months. Some people get the hang of it after, a year. It's vastly different for everybody. And this is because every single body is different. And everyone also has a completely different pattern when it comes to eating. Some people only eat 3 meals. Some people have 3 meals and 3 snacks. Some people have a really big breakfast and a really big dinner and maybe a midnight snack. Never compare what you eat to what anybody else eats, because you are your own person. Only you know how hungry you are and how full you get. These online coaches and everything like that, they don't know your hunger. They don't know your fullness. So just kick them to the curb. They know nothing about you. I also want you to see that nourishing yourself properly with an adequate amount of food and not fearing eating and not fearing to eat, 4 meals a day or whatever it may be, is a form of self-care. You're not really caring for yourself if you're holding in your pee all day, for example. That is really bad for you. Ask any gynecologist. You should not be holding in your pee, just like you should not be ignoring your hunger signals, and you should eat. Eating is an act of self-care. A lot of people ask, but I don't know when to eat. How often should I eat? And like I mentioned, this is completely up to you. I know generally you should be eating every 4 to 5 hours, but there's so many factors that go into this. How big was that meal that you ate 4 hours ago? How much movement have you done? So much goes into why you're hungrier some days and why you're less hungry other days. Your body needs a different amount of food every single day. But if you are trying to find a general idea of when you should maybe eat, if you're completely out of whack, the general consensus from most professionals, from the 2 books that I am taking influence from today, which are also going to be linked down below, say 4 to 5 hours, but it's not a rule. Intuitive eating is not a diet. You have to be most in tune with your body. And I know that some people get stressed very, very easily. So what I'm talking about, that 4 to 5 hours, is more for people who don't feel hungry because they've dieted for so long, or they're having certain appetite suppressants such as like coffee and cigarettes, or they're used to having those and they're weaning themselves off. So their body can't naturally produce these hunger signals. That 4 to 5 hours is mainly targeted towards those people. To have a snack and then slowly integrate bigger meals to when your hunger signals are going to come back. And something that I also want to stress is that eating when you are hungry is good. Eating when you are hungry is the healthiest thing you can do. Not starve yourself. You want to eat when you're hungry. And I think that there's a lot of confusion around hunger and this idea of perhaps you just ate a meal, you just eat breakfast, an hour later you're working on your computer, whatever it may be, and your stomach is growling and you're feeling very hungry, and you tell yourself, I just ate, I can't be hungry. But that's not how it works. Your hunger is controlled by so much more than just consuming food, consuming a meal. It could be perhaps you ate less than you normally do the day before. Perhaps you moved more than you normally do the day before. Maybe the breakfast that you had was more of a snack and you need a little bit extra fuel. There's also a chance that you're just having a hungrier day. Some days I'm absolutely ravenous and I don't really know why. And other days I'm a little bit more peckish, and that's okay. You can have hungrier days. You can have days where you don't eat as much. And you just have to honor that hunger in both situations. I also find that when I'm about to start my period, the week before, I'm a lot hungrier than normal. And I didn't truly realize that until I started intuitive eating, because when I was dieting, before I lost my period, I would try to consume the same amount of calories all the time. And it didn't matter if I was hungry, it didn't matter if I was full, I had to consume the same amount of calories per day. And it really messed me up in the long run, because like I said, your body needs a very different amount of calories every single day based on what you do, based on what you ate the day before, etc., etc. When your body is telling you that you are hungry, you have to eat. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter how many meals you had that day. With intuitive eating, like I said, there are no rules. Time doesn't matter when you eat, as long as you're eating when you're hungry. It doesn't matter how many meals you eat. Okay, like I said, everyone is different. There are no rules. There is no rigid plan at all. And at the beginning of your intuitive eating journey, you're going to feel guilty. And that's completely okay. That's completely natural. The guilt is slowly going to subside as you continue on in your journey. But just understand that there is nothing with your body that has to change. It's only your mind that has to change and that needs that healing. And you've already taken a step in the right direction. You don't feel guilty when you have to pee, for the 5th, 6th, whatever it may be time in a day. So you shouldn't feel guilty if you're having a 4th or 5th small, big meal, whatever it may be. I also want you to understand that you don't have to earn your food. You don't. That's a thing of the past. If that's something that you believe in, crumple it up, throw it away. You don't have to earn your food through movement. You don't have to earn your food through being good throughout the week. All of those ideas are gone. Remember, watch my last video if you want to hear a little bit more about dieting and diet culture. This video, we're trying to stay more on hunger and honoring your hunger, but like I said, that other video will be linked down below. I'm also not saying in this video that you have to be absolutely starving to eat. Remember, we're talking about that hunger scale. So for example, if I'm about to go see a friend, we're not going out to eat, I'm just gonna go see my friend and chat with her, and I know I'll probably be there for 2 or 3 hours. Before I leave, I'll see where I am on that hunger scale. So I could be at a 4, which is not starving, which is kind of, like I could have a snack around there. If I know that I'm not gonna have access to food for the next 3 hours, I'm going to take a preventative measure and have a snack, even if I'm not very hungry. And that is part of intuitive eating. It's taking those precautions. It's not wanting your body to just completely run out of fuel. It's wanting to stay in this nice, happy range. For example, if I weren't to have that snack before coming to see my friend, I would probably come home, be at that 1, be super hungry, and probably open my fridge and eat as much as I could, because I'm fulfilling that desire of wanting to eat and trying to fill that void in my stomach. And sometimes it's going to happen because we can't plan out how our life is going to be, unfortunately, every single day. But we want to try our best to stay in a place where we feel comfortable. So at the beginning, I mentioned that you're going to be having a lot of these pleasure foods, foods that you probably aren't used to having. And a lot of people ask, well, how do I build a balanced meal when all that I want is Captain Crunch cereal, whatever it may be? And my biggest tip is to pair pleasure foods with power foods. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm craving pancakes, I'm going to make the pancakes. And on the side, I'm going to maybe have a green smoothie, a berry smoothie, some fresh fruit, something that's also going to make me feel good. It's also a safe food in a way, so it can kind of slowly transition you into having those pleasureful food and feeling a little bit less guilt, especially at the beginning. And this is especially true if you're coming from a recovery standpoint. If you've suffered from disordered eating before, you know that a lot of these foods that you're going to be consuming are fear foods, which can be very, very scary. So I highly recommend pairing those fear foods with foods that you are more comfortable with. And stepping away from this video, knowing all of this knowledge and knowing everything that I know, or you know, sitting here and doing your research about intuitive eating, knowing is very different than practicing. You can know everything, but when in practice, it's going to be a lot harder. But don't give up. It's a process, and that's okay. You are going to overeat sometimes, you're going to undereat sometimes, and like I mentioned, this is normal. Don't feel like you have to give up on yourself. This is completely, totally, utterly normal. And the reason this happens is you just aren't well acquainted with your body right now. You're so stuck in diet culture or from your diet past that you don't know how to eat. You have to go back to your roots of intuitive eating because this is the way humans were designed to eat. You will learn to become more aware of those hunger cues, and food won't be at the forefront of your brain anymore because you know that your body is going to tell you when it needs food. And the last thing I want to touch on that so many of you guys sent me questions about is mental hunger. And this was so important to me and so big for me at the beginning of my journey. I was coming from very disordered eating. So I had not only a lot of physical hunger, but a lot of mental hunger as well. And how I view mental hunger is you are thinking about food for a reason. Whether it's a certain food, you know, like Oreos, or if you're just thinking about food in general, you might not feel hungry, but you are thinking about it constantly. And how I view it is that your brain is telling you that you need more fuel. You're not thinking about food for no apparent reason at all. You need to respond to your mental hunger, or you won't stop thinking about food and you won't be able to recover. Mental hunger almost always stems from restrictions and deficits. Whether that's restriction of a certain food group, whatever it may be, give in to your mental hunger and eat. So that's it for principle 2 on intuitive eating. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe if you want to see principle 3. And thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I post videos every single Saturday, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
You go back and forth like a yo-yo, up and down, you got me.